It is. That is only for me. But.
Bam, we're live. Ezra, what's up? Good morning.
Hey guys, how's it going? Good morning.
When I had you on, first you popped on my radar because my buddy here, Brian Friend, you see him over there with the baseball hat on. My buddy Brian Friend is pretty into frisbee golf, and he knows that I like frisbee. I'm like a beach frisbee guy, with the 175 gram Discraft, and a Miller High Life and a joint and a pack of cigarettes.
Early plug for Discraft. He likes you already.
Oh God, I love Discraft.
Yeah.
It's I don't even understand how anyone else is even in the game. Innova, it's funny watching. Anyway, don't get me sidetracked here. Hold on. We started watching. He's like, hey, dude, you should check out frisbee golf, disc golf. So I start watching it, and I start watching it every weekend with him. And then he comes on the podcast, and we talk about it. And then all the callers kind of make fun of us, right? We got this whole live chat that makes fun of us because we're into disc golf. And I'm like, there's one dude that's yoked that wears his clothes too tight, and why am I fascinated with that fucking guy? And obviously because we're in the CrossFit space. And so I started obsessing on you, and I started getting in your DMs. And then I tell Brian, I'm like, hey, dude, I got Ezra Aderhold. I said it right?
Yeah, that's it.
Aderhold. You were Aderhold until I started doing research on you. Now I know.
Yep. That's the way it is for a lot of people. So thanks for getting it right.
And what kind of name is that?
Jolman, I think.
Is
Jolman or Russian, maybe?
Are your parents born in this country?
Yep.
Okay,
yeah.
You got a little hint of like foreigner in you a little bit. Where were they born? Were they Amish, or were they born on a commune, or were they hippies?
No, they're South
got
Dakota.
Something off with you a little bit. You got something a little like quirky, hippie.
Yeah. It's just a speech impediment. So a lot of people think it's like an accent.
Buff hippie with speech impediment.
Yeah. Yeah.
With incredible arm. Incredible. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Fair. But were your parents hippies?
I wouldn't say hippies. I think they grew up in like a pretty normal like lifestyle, and then after they got married, they kind of did research and then started kind of adopting the vegan lifestyle. So I wouldn't say like full hippie, but they adopted like the health side of the kind of that lifestyle, I suppose.
If you, I know you get your blood work done, and I want to tell you right away that my biggest sponsor is a company called California Hormones. They give you free blood work for you, especially because you've been on the podcast. If you're ever in Southern California and Newport Beach, bring you into the facility.
Okay, cool.
And I don't know if your sport tests, but they will also offer testosterone replacement therapy, so you can get a little more in your, in your swing. And they offer peptides.
They don't test, but I wouldn't feel too comfortable going that route.
All right, fine. Yeah, me neither. But me neither. And then I also want to offer. Do you know about these?
Oh my God. I don't.
Those are my feet. I know they look like bird feet. Those are my feet.
I have not heard of those, I don't think. Maybe I've seen an ad or something. I don't know.
Toe spacers.
Yeah, what's what they look like when they're not on someone's foot.
Oh yeah.
Okay, there we go.
I would like to. How do people mail you stuff since you're always on the road?
Well, we've been doing Airbnbs, so sometimes if we time it right, I can get stuff sent that way. And then also, I guess I'll be back home in like a month, so sending stuff to my house would my residential address location would work as well.
Okay, I'd like to send you a pair of toe spacers.
All right, I'll try them out.
Yeah, I don't want them to fuck up your game, but I personally like them. Do you think they would mess up his game, Brian?
No, not at all.
Okay, good. All
right. What's the benefits? Trying to flatten
the idea is that as in the Western world, we spend so much time with our feet in shoes, and so they're like this, and the feet are meant to be able to manipulate each individual toe and spread them out. And so this is just a thing that you can do kind of at the end of a day, or while you're doing computer work or watching TV or whatever things that you do, and spend some time with your feet spread out so that it gives a chance for the body to learn that movement pattern as well.
Basically, your feet are trapped in shoes all day. Let them free.
Yeah.
I figured a hippie like you would appreciate that. Physically conscious, buff hippie. Like I'm you in 30 years, by the way. I'm the 51-year-old version of you. Jamie,
26 years old.
Oh, you're 26. Okay. Jamie Latimer, did he have to use a strip club Wi-Fi? Are you parked? Because sometimes we have a guest who's on the road and they have to park in front of a strip club for Wi-Fi. Are you parked in front of a strip club?
No, I'm in front of a Planet Fitness, but I'm just on my data. So,
have you worked out already?
No. I just went and brushed my teeth and stuff.
Oh, awesome.
I walk out at night. I don't like to walk out and then try to go disc golf. That can be kind of difficult with lactic acid buildup and stiffness and stuff like that. So
yeah. I heard you say basically too that, and obviously that would be the point of not doing steroids. Steroids might actually shorten your throw, but basically that one of the benefits of working out is not necessarily to get more on your throw, but for injury prevention. And I kind of love that.
Yeah, that's honestly, I feel like that's probably like the main benefit is just injury prevention, and then there's probably some confidence, that I can gain as well from having being in shape. But I mean, like a lot of the guys at the top don't have super built physiques, and they can still just rip the discs with their, I guess their athleticism and their flexibility and that side of the physicality.
Yeah. You know what I was really fascinated by after watching a bunch of podcasts you were on, and then watching your YouTube channel is that basically you're a dude who's chasing your dream. And, yeah, I spent years homeless, and then I spent years living in a car. And during that time, I was the only person I knew who wasn't a drug addict. And and now here's another dude, and it kind of is the misnomer about homelessness, because here you are purposely choosing to be homeless so that you could fucking pursue your fucking dream. And it's brilliant, and it's what all young, capable men should be doing all over the planet. If you're a painter, you should be driving around in your Prius that's set up to cook beans to paint the Grand Canyon one day and the Empire State Building the next day. And if you want to be a professional athlete, you should be chasing the circuit. Or if someone wanted to be a professional videographer or photographer, they should be chasing the circuit in their own car. And I just want to tell you, kudos to you for just really showing what human beings are capable of and making life fun. Is your life fun? It looks so fun.
I mean, it's definitely up and down. I think probably anybody's life, but I'm definitely blessed to be able to travel around and see a lot of cool places and compete and just play disc golf. Obviously it's walk at the same time. I have to, actually put time into practicing and, preparing and stuff like that. But it's really cool to see all the people on tour kind of just doing the same thing, on the playing side and then also on the videography side, just kind of, like you said, kind of living in vehicles and, traveling around and pursuing that. And it's getting to a point too where, less and less people on tour actually have to do that lifestyle. And like this, this season I'm actually living in Airbnbs, which is a lot nicer than sleeping in a Prius, obviously. And so it's cool to see the sport move in that direction as well.
So by the way, this is beautiful. Where is this?
That is in Des Moines, Iowa. Yeah.
God, it's beautiful.
That was a fun spot.
Are you playing a hole there, or is that a hole, or are you just having fun? You're like, hey guys, film this, watch this.
Yeah, just having fun. I think that was actually one of the days. That might have been a Saturday. So I think I went and had a tournament round right after this. But I kind of just zoomed in on the map, and I saw this little river. I was like, oh, this looks like a cool spot to throw across. So then my brother, who was on tour with me last year, was my caddy and film guy and stuff. We just went over and threw some shots, and it was the perfect distance to where I could actually cross the river. So we got a couple different camera angles, and he shot it all, and turned out pretty sweet.
Okay, I think I saw pictures. I didn't realize that was your brother. He's a little shorter, but he's all buff too.
Yeah, yep. He's a little bit shorter, but he's probably pound for pound a little thicker than I am. So
he's not traveling with you this year?
Not this season, no.
How come?
He plays as well?
He does not play. No, I mean, we started playing at the same time. So my brothers and my dad kind of found disc golf at the same time. So we kind of all casually played for a couple seasons or a couple years, I guess. And then when I started taking it more seriously, he was still playing golf, pretty seriously. So he kind of stopped playing disc golf, and I kind of stopped playing golf and kind of went the disc golf way. So he doesn't really play. He kind of wanted to do his own thing. I think, it's not super fulfilling just kind of traveling around with me, I don't think, and just kind of, I guess, living my dream. So I think he kind of wants to pursue his own path, which I can totally, relate to. So I think, I think he'll be better off kind of, pursuing his own stuff.
100% natural. Someone over here asked, so he's not natty. No, you're completely natural.
Yep. Completely
You're just
natural,
maximizing what a human body can do. And you're vegan. And you've been vegan your entire life.
Yeah. 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 I mean, the last handful of years or so, I've, tried some non-vegan food here and there, but 98, 99% of my diet's still plant-based.
Are there other guys on tour that are vegan?
Yeah, there are a few. One of the best players in the world for the last 5 years or so, grew up vegan throughout his whole life as well, but he's recently turned to carnivore. So there was one less plant-based guy on tour. But I think there's a handful of people that are plant-based, or at least mostly plant-based.
There's basically one guy in CrossFit that I know of that was able to get very, very good being vegan. He's an Australian guy. So I just always find it interesting when there is an athlete that, because a lot of people they perceive the vegan diet to be limiting to a certain degree, but to know that there are a few people in each of these kind of select sports that are still able to get to the top with that diet, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'll show you the guy. You're talking about Newberry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. James, I think that's a wooden.
Oh, geez. Okay.
I think that's a wooden dumbbell. But yeah, Australian dude.
Pretty jacked.
Cool dude. Jacked out of his mind, dude.
Yeah.
Jacked out of his mind. You know what's interesting? But you know what's interesting though? Kind of like your body. Your body changes tremendously between whether you're relaxed or pumped. When you start working out, you start getting really, really jacked, right? I mean, there's like a noticeable difference. Like when you're just relaxed, you just look like a swimmer. And then I look at videos of you like after you've been working out a little bit, I'm like, oh shit, he's pumped out of his mind. Your body goes through a pretty quick transformation. Yeah,
I mean the pump definitely adds a lot. I mean, I think flexing it probably changes the most. If I don't flex, you don't really see any striations or anything. Whereas if I flex, it could build striations in my chest or my shoulders, or stuff like that. Obviously the size changes too. So I mean, I keep it pretty consistent as far as like walking out throughout the season and off season. So I don't really see any huge like mass differences as far as people who like bulk and cut. I kind of keep it pretty consistent. So I don't see a huge difference in that way.
How tall are you?
6'1", a little over 6'1".
Oh wow, okay.
How much of a factor do you think height plays in the ability to be elite at disc golf?
I think it definitely helps. I don't think it's the most important thing like it is in, other sports like basketball or something. It's not that physical of a sport, but it definitely gives you an advantage as far as distance goes, because I think you can use your length and those levels to get more power. But at the same time, like the most dominant player in our game so far is only 5'9", I think.
That's Paul, right?
So it's definitely not, those more things that are more important, like focus and consistency, accuracy, all that stuff, which height doesn't really play a huge factor on. Just a few weeks ago, the guy that won is maybe 5'7".
Who's that?
He still throws really far, and he got the win.
So Paul Macbeth is the guy that he's referencing, who's 5'9", and Emerson Keith, I think, is the other 5'7". Yeah, I never knew how tall Emerson was, but he is. I would say they're both an outlier relative to most of the guys. It seems like 6'1" is kind of like that's a lot of players seem to be about that height that are towards the top.
Yeah. I'm not even considered that tall in like
Well, there's like these,
space.
Calvin and Ricky and Gannon. It's just
right, exactly.
Look at this guy. This commentator's as tall as Gannon. Unless he's standing uphill a little bit.
He's probably standing. That's Nate Parkins. He's about 6'1", 6'2" as well, and I think Gannon's probably 6'5", maybe 6'6". 2 years old, really big. 7'2".
So Gannon's what'd you say? Who's 7'2"?
No, I said in a couple of years he'll probably be like 7'2".
Oh,
he's only 18, so I mean he's probably going to keep shooting up.
I think there's a joke on tour that like Gannon grows 2 inches every year.
Yeah.
Does he really stand out because he's so tall? Is he that tall? It's like, oh, like if he walks into like a 7-Eleven or something, it's like everyone looks.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, on tour, he doesn't stand out as like super tall because you got guys like Ricky and Calvin, like he said. So he's not way taller than everybody on tour, but I guess compared to our average population, is 7'11", maybe would, stand out.
Have you ever seen a woman spectator in all the years you've been playing disc golf? I've been keep waiting to see one woman in the stands. I haven't seen one yet. You ever seen one?
I mean, it's definitely male dominated, but there's definitely women out there as well.
They're allowed in. They're allowed.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. All right, sorry.
This was pretty inclusive.
Okay, good. All right, great. When you can you go back and tell me the first time you held a disc in your hand? Any kind
2014, I believe.
So 10 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, about 10 years ago.
At 16.
Yeah. We'd played ultimate frisbee a little bit, like with the swim team. I grew up swimming competitively, and so every Wednesday morning, I guess we would go out and play ultimate frisbee with the team. So I knew how to throw a frisbee. But then we just kind of saw some people randomly playing disc golf in the course they must have just recently put in. So we kind of saw it, thought it looked like fun, and then I think my brother maybe found a disc in a creek or something, so we used that and some ultimate discs. Went out and played and kind of liked it right away, and then got on YouTube and started watching all the Joma stuff and Central Coast, and fell in love with that side of the game too.
Do you remember? So at 16, I'm assuming when you started playing, are you right-handed?
Yes.
And do you remember the first time you threw a forehand?
Oh man, I don't.
Did it take a while though? Did it take a while, like at least a year? Or?
Yeah, I think it kind of went at a similar pace. I can remember we used to travel as a family in the wintertime because my parents hated the cold, I guess like I do. But I can remember we were in Vegas at a course, and I felt like my forehand was almost stronger than my backhand, so I started kind of throwing it more often. And then my brother Judah he kind of told me to not lean on that so much, just because the backhand is kind of the better throw. So I think my backhand forehand was probably somewhat even right away, and then after I kind of took disc golf seriously and put a lot of time into the backhand, then my backhand's gotten to be a lot more prominent.
So you started backhand, but quickly realized you had a better forehand. That's interesting. I never even thought of that. For me, it's such a bizarre throw. It seems unnatural to me.
I think a lot of people pick up the forehand easier because I feel like it's a more comparable motion to a baseball toss or tennis, hit or something like that. While the backhand is kind of more of a unique movement, I would say.
And then what about switching from a ultimate frisbee disc to a disc golf disc? To me, it's almost not even the same game. It's not
right. Yeah, it's totally different. It's like a different throw as well. With the ultimate disc, you can get away with kind of really getting your arm super curled up and just spinning the disc a lot. You don't need a lot of speed. Whereas the way the discs are designed, speed is a lot more important to get the disc to travel. So you'll see some ultimate players try to transition to disc golf, and it's not as easy as maybe you'd think. Brody Smith obviously being probably the most notable one. And he's done a good job of transitioning, but it was definitely difficult for him right away. And I don't feel like transitioning from ultimate gives you a huge advantage.
Was Brody a good ultimate frisbee player?
He was probably the best. He was definitely the best at the time he played.
Wow.
I don't know about still, but he might be the best ever.
Also a big man sport.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one too, while jumping, and being able to jump high and be tall in that way helps as well.
So 16, you're swimming. Did you go to high school or were you homeschooled?
I was homeschooled. Yeah.
God, dude, you are a fucking hippie. Beans, vegan, homeschool, travel during the winter. Why are you having trouble accepting this? You and I are from the same cloth. I mean, you're on a slightly different part of the blanket. I mean, I'm only 5'5", but we are weave.
That's generous.
Yeah, thank you. Homeschooled.
Yeah.
Where are your parents? What ethnicity are your parents?
I mean, just white. We did. Are
you Amish? How many years? Amish?
No.
Where were they born?
South Dakota.
God,
both of them.
You have cool parents. Are they cool? You feel pretty lucky.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I feel super blessed to be raised by them. I think they did a good job as far as parenting can go. It's a tough job. So
you're an independent, strong human being. That there's not a lot of those left. Chasing a dream. It's
True.
Wow. Okay. What generation are your parents?
I think I want to say like my mom's grandma, so maybe my great grandma, like couldn't speak English. So
What did she speak?
I think German, I believe.
German.
I think it went like German, Russian, Switzerland, maybe is as far back as we've gone.
Do you know how your parents met?
In college.
In the Dakotas?
Yeah.
I didn't even know they had college in the Dakotas.
It is pretty scarcely populated state. Not a whole lot going on, but
hey, will that 5-5 when the man bun is on top? That's correct.
There you go.
Where would you consider home?
I still claim South Dakota. So when they announce me, for the false T, they still say South Dakota. I haven't settled down anywhere else since. So, maybe if I buy a house somewhere for the off season, then maybe I'd claim that, but I would still claim South Dakota.
Do you still own? Go ahead,
in the sport of disc golf, is that something that they like ask you at a tournament or they ask you before the season? Because sometimes the players will change,
Right. Yeah, we have to plug that in when we sign up for the PDGA membership, I think is what it is. So we have to like claim a residency somewhere, and so mine is still South Dakota.
So like every year when you update your PDGA rating, that's when you can make the change.
Yeah, I think you can go in and edit it as well. So if I wanted to go change it now, I probably could do that as well.
You mean like what his home state is?
They'll just say, now taking the T from South Dakota, sponsored by Discraft, Ezra Aderhold. So,
okay.
But some players, they move. Paul Macbeth for a long time. I don't know what he claims anymore, but it always was Huntington Beach. But he hasn't lived there for a long time.
Right. Yeah. Now it was Virginia then for a couple of years, and now it'll probably be Florida now.
Hey, and you were into real estate. That was your first occupation before you. Do you still own any property?
I don't. Yeah, growing up, my dad had rental properties, so we got pretty familiar with like the renovation side of all that, and so that interested me. I wanted to kind of just be like a real estate mogul, make a bunch of money. So like right out of high school, my brother and I bought like 4 houses, fixed them up, and then sold them, and kind of realized that with all that time spent, we couldn't really do anything. Like even if we had money, it wasn't really worth it at the time. And I kind of realized that I could probably just make money when I'm older if I wanted to. So it made more sense for me to take the, I guess, little risk maybe that was, and chase something that I thought would be a little bit more enjoyable.
Do you guys do the manual labor on those yourself?
Yeah, we did most of the stuff ourselves.
So 16, you pick up a disc for the first time, and was there a time where you were like, it started just taking an inordinate amount of your time? You're like basically like in between renovating houses or class or whatever. You're like, wow, I just want to get. Or you start notice you're on the internet looking for new discs. Is there a point when you're like, okay, something's going on here? I found my passion. You're playing on rainy days, windy days. You're playing at night with a headlamp. You know what I mean? When you just start seeing, you set up, you get a basket, you steal a basket from a course and put it in your backyard. Shit like that starts happening.
Not until after the houses. So I would say from like 16 until 19, it was super casual. Even in height, like for the first couple of years, golf was my main focus. So from 16 to 18, I was still playing golf primarily and just would play disc golf casually. And then, for that whole summer of doing the renovations, didn't really spend any time disc golfing at all. Just because we were trying to put 10, 11 hour days into the houses to get them fixed up as soon as possible. And then after we got done with the work, then I kind of realized like I kind of want to do something else. And I was already confident in my disc golf game for whatever reason. Like I felt like I was already good enough to be like professional, which was obviously not even close. But then after putting in a lot of work, I knew I'd be able to, I guess, make it.
Hey, excuse me for 1 second. Sorry, I apologize. I'm just being honest. When Mayhem goes live, I'm out of here. I'd rather watch kettlebells and cocks than listen to disc golf. I respectfully say, you fucking cunt, get the fuck out of here and don't post in my chat again. Thank you. I appreciate it. No hard feelings. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Wow. You're sweating now.
Fucking dickhead. They're having a fucking conversation about going over. You want to go over and suck Rich's cock? Go ahead. I ain't hating on you. Go.
Rich Froning is.
Yeah. I'm ready to leave
like,
fucking too, Brian, with this guy so they can talk about Frisbee to go give Rich a handy. Go ahead. Dickheads. I'm just kidding, Ezra.
Ezra is kind of like he's kind of like Paul Macbeth. Like he's been the best guy in the game for a long time, and he's actually he's a friend of ours, but he's also has a podcast going on right now.
Nice.
They're over here talking in the chat about going over there. Okay, look, here's the guy who's pretty happy he met you, Brian, at the West Coast semifinals. Here we go.
Met a lot of good people this last month.
Look, Jody Lynn, I love this guest. Yeah, what's not to like about him? Want me to put up some pictures of him with his shirt off? Will that keep some of you around? Look, we have one girl. Look, we have one girl who listens to the podcast.
There we go.
Yeah, way more than that.
Okay. Okay. Here we go. Back. What do you do for a living? Oh yeah, golf. Here we go. Back to Ezra Aderhold.
Ezra, this year you and Brody have started doing like the course reviews, like you'll play when you get there. Have you? I'm just kind of curious. Has that been rewarding for you, or is like the time that it takes to do that sometimes a distraction, or is it a lot of extra work?
Yeah, so we actually kind of started doing that last season as well. And it's definitely beneficial. YouTube does do pretty well monetarily, so that definitely helps out. Last season, we did all the editing ourselves, and that definitely, I felt like took a little bit of a toll, just because I'd be up kind of late at night editing the video, or only in the morning trying to edit so we can get it posted before the tournament would start. And I feel like that maybe had a little bit of a negative effect on my game. Thankfully, this year we've been able to outsource that, which obviously costs a little bit. So the revenue's not going to be maybe as good as it was last year, but I think it'll be worth it. And then it's enjoyable. It's something we have fun doing, and we'll already make like practicing. So it's like we might as well film it as well, and then people enjoy it. So
I really like it. It
looks like it's a lot of work. Just to add to what you're saying, Brian, I watched one last night and I was like, oh, this seems pretty stressful. Like he should be like chilling the day before.
Yeah, we usually film on like Monday or Tuesday, so we have a couple days of just like practice without the cameras before the tournament. But it's not really a whole lot different than like a normal practice round goes. We're typically talking about the shots during a practice round and typically making jokes anyway. So we're kind of just capturing that would be what we would already do, and then just posting that.
Has it led to you eating a lot more waffles than you usually would?
I've definitely eaten more waffles since meeting Brody. Yeah.
Why? He's big into waffles?
Huge. Yeah, he loves Waffle House. So we'll have these we'll have little side bets sometimes for who has to buy the waffles next time.
There's nothing at Waffle House that you should be eating, by the way.
No.
All right.
True.
Final hole.
Hey, do you like playing with your shirt tucked in? The
I
first
think
time
it
I
looks more
saw that,
professional. Yeah, I mean,
you look great. Pants are tight. You can see you squat below parallel. Shirt's tight. But I was thinking that when you rotate, that you would feel that tug in your waistband, and that would be like take your attention away from the throws. No.
Oh man, I hope not. I don't think so.
Okay, good.
I mean,
all right. Don't let me get
I've been tucking it in for a while, and like I played golf in high school, and I think I would tuck it in for that too. So I'm at the very least I'm used to it.
Do you look down upon the guys who show up kind of just looking like hippies? Like, come on, guys, tighten up your shit, professional up.
I maybe did at the beginning, but in the last since I've been on tour, it's gotten a lot. Like I guess since I've been involved in disc golf and watching the sport, I feel like there's been a shift. So even from like 6 years ago when I started watching, I think the way people have presented themselves is more professional, which I like to see. But I like the jerseys that people are wearing. I think that looks good enough, and I think that's a good look for disc golf. Some of the athletic shorts is maybe not what I'd love to see, but at the same time, the run up is an athletic move, so I can understand why people would want to wear the more athletic clothing. So I don't look down on it too bad.
Do the sponsors get involved in that at all? Would they reach out and say, "Hey, man, we might appreciate you wearing this or not that"?
Well, there is a dress code in the PGA rules, so I mean, kind of have to adhere to that. The sponsors, I don't know if the sponsors, care too much. I think they want us to look presentable, which most people do. So it's not really an issue, I don't think.
By the way, Jamie Latimer, I apologize. You're right. Quit counting us girls out. You're absolutely right. I will try. I forget that there's girls out here. Chelsea, speaking of females, I'm loving this. I just recently started disc golfing. It's a lot of fun. Awesome. You're you're young, you're athletic, good parents, and you dabble in real estate. You read Rich Dad Poor Dad. You think having money would be fun. Please continue to think that it is fun. And then you, at some point, you believe in yourself enough to think that you can play professional Frisbee golf. Is that confidence or naiveness?
Yeah, honestly, I think it was naiveness because I don't know.
Well, congratulations, it fucking worked.
Yeah, I got lucky. I don't know. We thought like right when we started playing, we were arrogant enough, and I think naive is a good word for it. To think that we were already like good enough to be professional, and we watched the YouTube videos and we're like, we can throw these shots. Well, like that distances, they'll just hype that up to make it look better. And I can remember going to a tournament in California. I can't remember it's the Wintertime Open. I can't remember the town. But we saw Paul Macbeth play and some other pros as well. And even watching them in person, we were like, yeah, we can probably throw as far as these guys. And then we went out after the round and played the same course. And then we threw the shot and it was like half the distance. And we're like, oh my gosh, well, we're really bad. And awesome. So then that was really disappointing to just be a lot worse than we thought. So then I kind of made a decision at that point to either not play anymore because I was like, I don't want to be this bad, or to take it seriously and try to make it my job. So I think that must have been 2019. And I was like, I guess I'll do it.
But you did your first pro tour in May of 2019. So quickly.
Oh, it would have been 2017.
Right. Okay, 2017.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Graduated 2016. Yeah.
Was that a test? You were testing me?
No.
Okay. And just to so if you're throwing half as far, so you in those 2 years, you think you doubled your drive off the tee distance from 17
somewhat close. Yeah, double maybe is maybe a bit much. It probably wasn't quite half either. I was probably throwing maybe 350 on a full flight.
That's me now, by the way.
And now what do you throw? I
would say 600. I mean, my longest
wow.
my longest measurable throw is 679 in a contest.
Wow. Yeah. God,
but I'm not really hitting 600 in a tournament setting usually just because it's such of an aggressive line.
And there's really few holes that demand that.
Yeah, exactly. And especially now, the courses are becoming increasingly difficult with OB and decision making and all that stuff too. Well, you can't really get away with just kind of spraying a shot as far as you want on most courses.
That's one of the two things that I appreciate, I think, most about the videos that you and Brody put out is the kind of the course analysis, and that you guys aren't really afraid to say, I can see where the course designer's coming with this hole or these style of holes that they've chosen to sprinkle into the course layout. And then you'll say, and I like it for this reason, or I don't like it for that reason. But in general, how difficult do you think it's becoming for course designers to find holes or layouts that are challenging enough for you guys without being kind of over the top ridiculous?
Yeah, it is a difficult thing. I think we always make the comparison to golf just because it's a somewhat similar sport, and they have the putting so difficult. And they can easily adjust the greens kind of and the speed and all that stuff to make the hole play so much more difficult just on that one small area where we don't really have that. The putting is one of the easier parts of, well, for some people, it's one of the easier parts of the game. So I'm sometimes still working on, but without making a hole fluky, but still difficult is one of the biggest challenges. And obviously those things you can do with OB to make you maybe want to play safe. But I don't know, I'd like to see them shrink the baskets and see what that would do. Cause I think making the putting more difficult would make everything about the game more difficult. I think I'd really interested to see what that would do.
Is there a minimum or maximum requirement that the PDGA enforces for that? Do the baskets have to be a certain diameter?
Yeah, I believe so.
It's one of those things that, like, in my opinion, and this is kind of coming from the CrossFit space, like there's certain parts of the season that are part of the season, but then there's, like tournaments or competitions outside of the season that could do some experimenting in that regard. So it might be cool for an like out of season tournament to just try that with the diameter that's like 75% of the mandated PDGA one, and just kind of do a little study and see how it is.
Right, for sure. I mean, there has been an event in the past in Utah, I believe, where they had a basket with basically just the inside chains. So those it's like a marksman basket, I guess. And it's just really, it's like the width of a disc is all. And that basket doesn't really catch very well because it's so easy to just hit the pole and bounce straight back out. So I don't think that's necessarily the route. I think they'd have to shrink every aspect of the basket, the width and the height, and just
proportionally,
make it
just bring it down smaller.
Yeah, exactly. And then somehow figure out a way to make it catch well. And then if that could happen, then I think it'd be ideal.
Jeffrey Birchfield, 679. Wow. And yeah, that's crazy. Jamie Latimer, does he play real golf?
Yeah, I played real golf in high school for 4 or 5 years. Since then, I haven't played a whole lot. I'll go out maybe a couple times a year, and maybe go to Top Golf once in a while, but not super committed to that anymore.
Just to put things in perspective, let's tell people about this shot one more time. Jeffrey Birchfield, great question. How far is this being thrown?
That was about 550, I think.
Okay, because that looks like it's just going forever and ever.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I can't tell if you got a full flight out of that. It almost just looks like a hyzer flip to flat.
Yeah, I think it did tone some. Those were some pretty flippy discs. The first batch of the nukes last season came out pretty flippy, so I was having to put those on a pretty steep hyzer angle, and we had a little bit of headwind too, so it got like a lot of movement.
God, it's cool. You look like a friend of mine and Brian's in this. Do you know who I'm talking about, Brian? Who he looks like?
No.
Chase Ingram.
Oh yeah, actually, great comparison. Yeah,
right. It's every time I watch that, I'm like, is that Chase? Chase is playing for the Judy Reed. Are elbow injuries or shoulder injuries common, similar to baseball players?
Yeah, there has been a few elbow injuries from some of the top players. And then also knee, I think, would probably be like the next most common. And I think one of the things is we don't have as many staff members kind of helping people with the injury prevention stuff that like MLB will have. So we don't have as much access to that. We do have one guy. I think that helps a lot.
Like a body worker who's on the tour.
Yeah. So he helps a lot with people getting warmed up before the round and stretching after the round and all that stuff, which I think is important. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of strain that goes on to the elbow. So it's definitely, definitely something to watch out.
If you want to work with that guy, do you have to like sign up for, I mean, there's oftentimes 100+ players in a tournament. That seems like one guy's job. It would be almost impossible. Yeah, it's included with the tour card that we sign up for. So we get access to it. And then it's also spread out throughout the day. So, if I tee off at 11 o'clock, maybe go, somebody who tees off like 11 o'clock, we'll go see him for like the half hour or so leading up to it. And then the person that tees off at noon will go, talk to him right after that, and just kind of fills up his day like that. How difficult is it to get a tour card?
You have to be top 80 from the previous season, I think, or top 72. I think it's top 80.
Is that based on player rating, or is it based on the world rankings that the?
I believe it's based on the Pro Tour points.
Pro Tour points.
So if you don't, yeah.
I'm a very analytical mind. For CrossFit, I do a lot of data analysis, research, and evaluation of the players and the competitions. And when I'm starting to gain a lot of knowledge and interest in disc golf in the same regard. And I'm always curious, where I should look. On the PDGA, they have the rating, and so you can see that who the highest rated players are. On the MPO site or UDisc with MPO, they have this dominance index, which I don't entirely understand. And then, of course, there's the tour points. Which one of those do you think is the best reflection of who actually are the top players at any given time?
I like the 2 points the most. I think at the end of the season, especially. So even if you just look at like the end of last season, I think that probably has the best gauge.
Ricky Wysocki is gonna love that you said that.
Yeah, I think the player rating is probably the least, maybe the least accurate. I don't know. The player rating's a tough one just because you can go play events off 2-wall that will rate differently depending on the field and the difficulty of the quals. So it's not a perfect system. I think it's a good system for amateur players, but I don't think it's super necessary for the pro field. And then the UDisc ranking is also it's decent. I think. I don't think it's perfect either. I think maybe the StatMando power rank or the StatMando world rankings is maybe the best one. That's probably pretty similar to the UDisc, I guess, but I think that's maybe the best, like outside of the Pro Tour points.
Congratulations in Portland. You're on the chase card with Calvin. Good company, right?
Chase card with Calvin. I think Calvin was like third card, but he just shot really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at it, and you put it to your homeboy Gannon too.
Yeah.
And a Brody.
Yeah. I'm glad Brody played well.
You must have felt horrible for that.
The USDGC spot and the European Open spot. So I'm happy he's going to qualify for both of those.
Say that one more time. Sorry. Say that again.
Oh, I'm happy for that Brody played well. He's been chasing down the USDGC spot, like the qualifying spot, and the European Open spot as well. So he got both of those this week, which is super nice.
That is awesome. And let's be super honest. Like, it's good. I think it's good for the sport also that he's able to, elevate and qualify for those tournaments. Obviously, I think he's probably brought a big following over from his previous endeavors.
Ezra, right here it says Brody's number is 128,000 and yours is 121,000. And then let's say like someone like James Proctor is 34,000. Is that just when they came into the sport? Because that guy's been in the sport for so long.
Yep,
that's just literally chronological. Oh wow.
Yep.
Holy cow. Okay.
And it only, as far as I can tell, it only matters in very specific scenarios where there's a tiebreaker. Like if, for example, if Ezra and I were playing in round 2 and we both shot the same in round 2 and had the same total for the tournament, then the next tiebreaker would be the fact that he had a lower PDGA number than me when determining which card we would play on in the third round.
Correct. Yeah.
Brian said something too that I didn't understand. You guys were going back to courses and about holes being difficult or good. And then he said, and then I think you guys said the word versus a floaty hole or floky hole. What was the word you used?
Fluky.
Fluky. What does that mean? Like a hole that's like got a gimmick in it. That's like kind of.
Yeah. So you can make a hole fluky with just having, like, if you just imagined having like OB cross the fairway every 10 feet. This would be like a super extreme example. Well, you could have the OB
run
a
for out of
way.
Bounds for people who don't know, out of bounds. So what you're saying is if you made a checkerboard and the white was out of bounds and the black was in bounds, that would be cheese dick.
Right. It'd be a very difficult hole, but it also is just super gimmicky and fluky.
Okay.
That's one way to do it. You could also have a hole where it's just throwing through a wall of trees that you have to just kind of poke and hope that you get through. That's one of the more common ways, I would say. Or you can have things like hills can be kind of fluky as well, depending on how you land on the hill and roll away, but that's something you can actually manage. Those different ways to make a hole difficult, but those, like some of those examples, there's some bad ways to make holes difficult as well.
Or even the mandos that they put in the mandatory, like right off the tee, sometimes there'll be some mandatories. And because I'm not super familiar with the sport and I'm watching on a TV, I can't really tell what the purpose of it is. I can't tell, like, hey, why are they trying to guide the dude right through this? Or if the mandatory is pretty far off the tee, it's like, oh shit. What happens if you go outside a mando? That's out of bounds.
It's basically, it's typically this kind of similar to going out of bounds, and you take your stroke for going out, you take a stroke for coming back, and then you throw at it like a drop zone right next to the mandatory. Is like the typical ruling. The purpose of a mando is basically to limit people from taking an easier line to the basket. So if you can imagine like a big dog leg left, that's like 600 feet in the wide open. You could just go straight at the pin at like 400 feet. They put a mando halfway down the fairway, makes you go all the way around the hole. So they can.
Gotcha.
On more open courses, especially, it's definitely necessary sometimes.
Sometimes it's for safety. They don't want you throwing into another hole's fairway, or they know there's going to be fans over there.
Yeah.
Heidi Kroom, is he single? Are you single, Mr. Ezra?
I am single. Yes. Yeah.
Did you ever?
I'm married to the game.
Oh, nice. I like that. In some sports, I'm trying to think what like professional basketball, and they have like words for the girls around the course. They're like called like something bunnies or something. I can't remember. Does golf have those, like girls who are on the tour like chasing you down, trying to get you to marry you, try to spend the night in the Prius? Anyone ever try to spend the night in the Prius?
I mean, I don't think, back when I was living in the Prius, I don't think that's a super attractive quality for a guy to have. So I didn't have any issues back then.
As soon as you upgraded to the motorhome?
No, I mean, that hasn't really been. There's not a whole lot of disc golf groupies. So
do you have any time for courtship? Do you have any time for dating, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, every now and again. I've gone on some dates, in the past couple of years, but it's kind of a difficult part of the job, just with how much I travel. I feel like it'd be difficult to actually get into like a relationship. I don't think the long distance thing would be super fair for either people. So I don't know. It's kind of unfortunate, but like for where I'm at in my career right now, I feel like it's not a super plausible option.
At CrossFit competitions, I always recommend, if possible, for someone to bring a person with them, whether it's their girlfriend or their wife or a manager.
Really?
Or
your girlfriend or your wife? Really?
Well, just hear me out, Sevan.
Okay.
Someone that can, be there for them to do simple things. Make sure that they're eating, or, if they forgot something at the hotel, they can run and get it for them. It's just like these little things, because CrossFit competition is very demanding physically. And, in disc golf, and specifically relevant to this conversation, I notice, I don't know what percentage, but there's a decent amount of players on tour that have their girlfriend or wife that travel with them all the time. Do you think that can be an advantage, or do you think that sometimes it's too distracting?
Yeah, I think it could go either way, depending on the person and depending on the situation and how they handle things. I think, though, I can definitely see there are all benefits, I'm sure. And obviously some people make it work, so I don't think it'd be a completely just like negative, distracting type of thing. And if it's the right person, I think it could be a benefit.
I don't know. What if you get in a fight with your girl about something just inconsequential just prior to getting on the holes? That would suck. Like
yeah,
like someone forgot to pick up the dog poop. I mean, just some bullshit.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
You'd have to have a great mate who at all times can just give you a kiss and be like, "Hey, just drop it. Let's let this go." They'd have to be able to just squash anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild. There are certain players, and sometimes like very high level players, like Chris and Eagle, that you just expect their significant other to be there all the time. And for those, it does seem like it works out very well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You said you're 26?
25.
25. A 609 mile. That's pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Did you ever in that video you said you were going to retime it? I didn't believe you. I'm like, there's no way he's retiming that after getting a 609.
I planned on it. Well, I didn't train at all for that, and my plan was to my plan was to
By the way, another sign of a hippie. See the way like you don't brush your hair and you just let it fro and like that?
I mean, you gotta live free, dude. Let it breathe.
You're totally living free. Okay. Go on. Sorry.
But yeah, my plan was to, practice, like train a lot through the off season, and then go back and time myself at the mile again just to see if I improved. I did the same thing with swimming as well. And about a month into going on runs every other day or whatever, my foot, I got some foot pain, I think is what it was. And so I kind of stopped.
Plantar fasciitis?
Maybe. I'm not super familiar with anything like that.
Did it feel like you were stepping on a tack? Did it feel like you were stepping on a tack?
I don't know if I would say attack.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm like a doctor, so
okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a while ago. Yeah, so I kind of stopped doing the running side of it, and I kept up with the swimming until the season started. But it would have been interesting to see what I could have ran after.
How much
like
do you
a couple
weigh?
Months of training. About 190.
What's the shortest dude on the tour? We were talking. What's the shortest, like absolute shortest? Is there any like 5'4" dudes?
5'6", 5'7". Emerson's right there with the shortest guys.
There's no dudes who are so short where you're like, I wonder if he goes in the dwarf category. No one like that.
No.
Mason Ford, probably another one. I think he may be an inch taller than Emerson, though.
Yeah, him and Emerson are very, very similar in stature, I'd say.
And any chance the drug? Is there any concern about drugs on there? I mean, everyone looks so svelte, and I kind of liked your analysis of in one of the videos I saw that getting stronger isn't necessarily and may not equate to better throwing. But what about weed? Do they test for that?
Yeah, they don't test for anything in disc golf, which I would like to see that become a thing at some point. I don't think it's cost effective at the level disc golf's at. I think it would be too expensive, unfortunately. But I mean, there are definitely substances that get used. I don't know.
Like what? Like Aderhold,
think,
like something to help you with your focus, like Aderhold or something like that.
Right. I think stuff like that would be more beneficial than like steroids.
Right.
But I don't know. I even think weed might be better. Like people don't say weed is performance enhancing, but I feel like if it calms people's nerves and can help them with focus and stuff like that, I feel like it could be a performance enhancing one.
How about nicotine?
That's obviously a legal drug though. So
I would think nicotine too. Chew. I would think. Or do a lot of guys chew?
I don't think you can actually. So I don't think you can actually use any of that stuff during the competition.
Oh.
So I think people might maybe smoke a little bit before they go play, or if they chew, they maybe chew before they go play. But during the actual competition, I don't think it's actually allowed.
What if someone wanted to take like a THC edible? How could you regulate that?
I mean, yeah, they can't. They really can't. I mean, yeah.
Are there something that I've always been curious about? Well, you have another question about drugs, Sevan?
Yeah. So you don't think there's any guys with nicotine pouches while they're on the tour, like out there?
If
that
there
shit helps
is
you focus tremendously. I wonder if that's illegal in baseball. Is it illegal in baseball? I don't think it is. Someone will know in the comments.
If there are guys using it, they've done a good job of not letting me see. So I don't pay good enough attention.
Right.
But that also probably be something pretty easy to hide.
Oh, are you guys pretty close? The group, the guys on tour?
It's definitely. I feel like disc golf's a lot closer than most sports, just because most people travel, all of the same spots. We camp out. A lot of people, kind of stay in the same parking lot in our vans, and we see each other on practice rounds. And so I think the pro disc golf community, I guess, does see each other a lot more often than maybe other sports. So it's not like we're friends with everybody, but we definitely are familiar with everybody.
I mean, in general, I'm like very impressed with sportsmanship, at least that's shown outwardly. I mean, even in this past week, these guys are in a very like contentious. It's very close. Every shot matters. There's some people getting good breaks, bad breaks, having good holes, bad holes. People react to those things differently. But when it comes down to it, like it's not very much time that passes, and fist bump, great shot, smiles. Like it's really quite impressive, at least what it appears from my end. Yeah.
I would say the vast majority of people on tour are at the very least like cordial with each other. So like at least like friendly on a certain level. And then like last weekend, Adam and Alan battling it out, they're pretty good friends outside of disc golf. And so I think that is probably maybe what you saw even more of that, like, friendsmanship, I guess.
How about when Tiger gave that dude slipped that dude a tampon? Do you remember that recently?
I do. I actually watched that. I watched one of the days live in person. That's so good.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so funny.
It's so good.
He got backlash. It's like,
oh, fuck those people. Hey, any shenanigans like that going on? Maybe like spray something on someone's disc so it smells like something, like perfume or any.
No, I mean, I think the most. Maybe we should step up our game and do more of that. But I think the most we'll see is like somebody maybe on the card previous or the card behind us or whatever we'll throw a good shot, then maybe somebody will like put some grass on top of the disc to kind of like try to hide it.
Oh,
Or a stick or something.
you could take a permanent marker and write something on someone's disc that fucks them up too. Like you have a tiny cock, or you know what I mean? Just as they what?
For sure. Well, like 2 seasons ago, there was this like hot dog bandit going around stamping like a hot dog on people's discs.
Uh-huh.
So he'd like, when people like warming up, he'd like pick up the disc and stamp it. And like for the longest time, nobody knew who it was.
Oh, wow.
And
wow.
Yeah, so I guess
that.
maybe that's the biggest like shenanigans.
Did anyone ever find out who did it?
Yeah. Jeremy Colling finally confessed.
And did he get in trouble?
No. It was just like a funny, lighthearted thing. It wasn't.
Jeremy Colling, Sevan, you know who that is. He does the commentary for the Jomez videos that we watch and review. He's a taller guy, kind of a silly guy, and he's been around forever. And from what I can understand, pretty much well liked by everyone. So he's like the perfect person to kind of pull off something like that.
Yeah. Personality.
2000. So do you consider yourself a professional disc golfer?
I do. Yeah. It's how I get paid. So.
And did you consider yourself that before you were one? Like when you had ambitions to be one, going back to like 2017? Like let's even go back a little further. When were you just like, okay, you were telling the story of you were like, I can do this, and then you saw Paul Macbeth and you had to scratch your head and be like, okay.
Yeah.
Did you have to have like I don't know, come to Jesus moment, like, fuck, I'm going to commit everything to this. What are my parents going to think? Is this really what I want to do with my life?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, yeah, I did have that moment. I think I had that moment pretty soon after watching Paul play in person. And I kind of had that, make that switch in my head of this is what I'm doing, or this is what I'm not doing. I wouldn't have called myself a professional at that point just because I hadn't made any money in it. I hadn't competed. I hadn't really done it. I kind of treated it like a job for like 2 years before actually competing. So I kind of,
Did you have a day job at that point?
No.
Just burning through your reserves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's
just, I mean, lived cheap, lived with my brothers in an apartment. So the rent wasn't too expensive. Didn't spend a whole lot of money on food. But yeah, I practiced for like a couple of years, not as a professional or anything, just kind of pretending like I'm already a professional and practicing as if that's my job. And then I played for about 9 months or so, kind of on the local level in the Dakotas, in professional events, but I wouldn't call myself a professional at that point either, just because the term professional disc golfer was kind of a loose term in disc golf, because you have touring professionals, you have local pros, it's all kind of all over the place. Maybe like halfway into my first season on tour is probably when I would be like, okay, I'm cashing at every event, I'm playing every weekend. This is that maybe that's when I would say that I was a professional.
Was it around that time that anyone started reaching out in terms of sponsorships, or did that take a little longer?
Yeah, that took towards the end of the season. Maybe just a few months.
End of 2019.
2020.
2020.
Yeah, so
okay.
Yeah, so for 2019, I just played local stuff mostly until the very, very end, and then I kind of went to Texas and just before the season. And then 2020, I played kind of okay throughout most of the season, and then I had a few kind of events happen in a row where I kind of popped off and got some recognition, and then I got some people kind of reaching out to me, and then didn't commit to anything for the rest of the season, and then at the end of 2020, that's when I made the decision to go with Discraft. But actually before the 2020 season, I played a tournament in Texas with Nate Perkins, and then he put in a good word for me with OTB. So they actually sponsored me for the whole 2020 season.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was super clutch.
Nate Perkins seems like a genuinely good dude.
For sure, yeah.
Jeffrey Birchfield, Major League Baseball's 2016 collective bargaining agreement banned the use of smokeless tobacco, including chewing tobacco, for all new big league players. Oh, for the new guys. Okay, so the guys who are addicted already got to like finish out. Yeah, I ain't hating on that. That shit.
Interesting.
You ever fuck around with nicotine, Ezra? You ever smoke cigarettes or no?
No, never have.
Man, that stuff is. Sevi, did you show him that lady who missed a shot by do we have
He's
that?
talking about Evelina Salonen, hole 17 at Waco.
Do you know that? Oh, look he cringed a little bit. He like
I've seen some shots, but here's the thing: like, I'll cringe at I'll cringe at the shots, but at the same time, like I've missed some putts pretty badly too. So it's like I don't know.
Dude, the guy who won this tournament last week in Portland, ultimately, he had one of the worst putts I've ever seen. Like 3 or 4 holes before he won it, he just like hit the biggest tree right in front of him. It happens.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that was insane. Then he had to make the putt from inside the tree, I think.
Standing
yeah, that was. Yeah.
So this in this period, so you're touring, you're trying to sorry, I want to go back a little bit more. So these 2 years that you're just practicing golf, is it basically like, and you're in this apartment with your brothers, you wake up in the morning, you eat your food, and then you have a regiment you go on? Okay, I'm going to practice putting for an hour, I'm going to practice drives for an hour, I'm then going to nap for an hour, then I'm going to work out, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to practice more drives? Was it like that for just 2 years?
Yeah, it wasn't that structured, but yeah, on that level, kind of. I guess it was a lot of technique work. So I would spend most of my time in front of my phone camera, just doing slow motion shots and slowing it down and trying to really iron out my throws. I was like in a basement throwing into a tarp that I hung up in my parents' old house. But yeah, so
Were your
I can
parents
remember.
tripping? Were people tripping on you?
What do you mean by tripping on me?
Like, it just seems like such a it's so on one level it's so extreme. Like, hey, I'm gonna put my life on hold for 2 years and I'm going to refine some motions.
Yeah. Using
an iPhone. No, you're a Droid guy?
I am. I was actually an iPhone guy at the time though. So you got it.
Holy shit. Pause. You went from an iPhone to a Droid?
Yeah.
How come?
It's a good question. I don't know, because like now the Android's the same price as the iPhone, so it's not really like a cost. It's not a cost move. I think the specs the Android has is better. And then like now I've gotten used to the UI of the Android, so I'm more familiar with how everything works.
Wow.
And I prefer it.
You know, the iPhone people hate you because you fuck up all the like group text threads.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
This morning, I had to tell the producer of the show, I'm like, hey, can you text him a link? Because I don't have cell service at my house. And I can only text people who are on Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Or who have an iPhone. And I'm like, God damn it, this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. I didn't know people went that way. I didn't know people went iPhone to Android. Go ahead.
You gotta try it out.
I agree. You're bold. You are a unique man. You're a Renaissance man, dude. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian. You
said that you hung up a tarp, you throw into a tarp, and I think sometime in the last month or so, Cole Redallen did an interview where he said, anyone who's trying to get good, I would recommend throwing into a net. Does that actually work? Like for me, seeing the flight of the disc is very meaningful. What is the benefit of throwing into a tarp or a net?
Yeah, I would say that seeing the flight of the disc is definitely beneficial, but when it's like 20 degrees below zero and it's like 4 feet of snow outside, it's not really an option. So that's where the throwing into a net is kind of the best option. And at the very least, you can still film yourself and see what your mechanics are and kind of have an idea of if you're hitting the right points and having the right technique. So you can still have some benefit, but maybe not quite as good as seeing the disc fly. One other benefit too is you don't have to pick the disc up. So that can add a lot of time as far as having to go pick up the discs, run back, throw them again, and
you would film it at 240. You'd film it at 240. 120.
Yeah, man, it's been so long. Yeah, probably 240.
And then project it onto a TV, like AirPlay it, or just actually watch it on the phone?
I would just watch on my phone. Yeah, because then I could just scrub, and like I used Huddle Technique, I think was the app I used. So I could like compare I could put my video right next to like Simon Lizotte or Will Schustrick or whoever it was that I thought had really good form, and then I could compare and see if I was getting to the same positions.
Ezra, I apologize. The chat has turned hostile towards you. Let's read a few of these.
Oh boy.
Here. Wait. Here's one. Android is so much better than iPhone. Okay.
Let's go, Sean.
Oh, this one hurt. This one is gonna hurt. This one's gonna hurt a little. You ready? Anita Dick and me. I bet he likes Pepsi. Ooh.
Wow.
That's vicious. Oh, here we go. I'm not sure if this is good or bad. Droid guy and a vegan. Yeah, it's getting weird.
I think that's
And-
positive. I'm gonna take it positive.
All right, take it how you want. What about so you're doing that for 2 years, and periodically you're doing local tournaments. You said you poke your head out of the basement. No,
not for 2 years. No, for like 2 years, I figured it was. I kind of wanted to get my foundation of my disc golf game strong enough to where when I went and played tournaments, I had that base to build off of. I felt like if I went and just played tournaments right away, it wouldn't be as easy to focus on technique. I would maybe limit my ceiling as far as not getting the distance I wanted off the tee. So I'd focus more on just like playing tournaments well instead of like having my technique good to where I could throw 550 feet. And then when I get to the top level, like having that would be a benefit.
Brian, what the fuck's up with this dude? He's like a mad scientist. There's all these like, did you ever see his video, Brian, with the Prius?
Probably not.
Okay, so basically what he did is he sets up a Prius and he puts he sets up a Prius so that there's a wire that goes from the front basically to the back where he can put a crock pot, right? A quick cooker where he can boil beans while he's driving, right? And then he has a seat that lays down where he can sleep in it. So he has this thing where he basically drives from tournament to tournament, flipping on a switch, cooking beans. He gets there, dinner's ready, he eats and goes to sleep and plays the next tournament. I mean, it's like, and then now, why 2 years, Brian? Pretend like he's not here. Is he crazy? 2 years he's working in the lab before he takes his Ferrari out for a test ride? Is that what I mean?
I honestly, I think it probably parallels to a lot of different disciplines. If you are passionate about something and you want to be confident in it when you present it, forward facing, that you got to put in the time to refine it. And I think, there are elements of being in a live competition setting that are difficult to replicate in your basement, the pressure of the moment and how to calm the nerves when there's, cameras on or people watching. But if you can lean into 2 years worth of practice and you can, there's still a mental discipline to be able to do that. But if you're confident in the stroke that you've been developing over that time, I think that, it is a good foundation to lean on, when you have to start to learn some of those other skills.
While you're doing that, are you second guessing yourself as you're watching your money supply dwindle? And are there days you wake up and you're like, fuck, what am I doing?
I don't think so. No.
Because it's basically you didn't get to cash a check for a long time. I mean that metaphorically. Like you don't. It's just like working on your car, but you never get to see it just like race.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, I didn't really make any. I didn't really make any money until like 2.5 years, I guess, when I made some money in like local tournaments, which didn't pay super well. I don't know. I was pretty confident in it. I knew it would take time. So like I kind of expected that I'd have to go through that period of like not seeing the immediate return. But I feel like it's something that a lot of people that I guess chase their dreams kind of have to go through, we see people in other sports at the top of their game playing whatever, and that's what we see, but we don't really see what goes into it. And I feel like a lot of people have to have that period where they put a lot into it without the return in order to get the return later on.
You've even curated your Instagram account to be really disc golf specific too. Basically everything is washed off of it, right? You've archived everything pre disc golf.
Yeah, I didn't actually have Instagram before disc golf. So I got Instagram because of disc golf. Are crazy.
God.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, you're a good catch. You don't have girls. Do you sabotage relationships? Are you like how come someone hasn't?
Yeah, I probably do.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I mean,
like your expectations are too high of girls. Like you meet them and like everything's perfect, but you see one quirky thing and you're like, fuck, this isn't gonna work for 50 years. You're out.
I don't know. I mean, I'm a little cynical. I'm a little cynical of relationships in general, which I don't like about it. But I don't know. I think the main thing, I don't think I necessarily look at the girls I've gone on dates with and like see the flaws or whatever as something that I can't like overcome or whatever. I think I'm mostly, at least at this point in my life, I'm mostly looking at myself and thinking that I'm still not ready for that with kind of where I'm at in my career. and what my goals are. I feel like I wouldn't be able to dedicate enough time to like a relationship.
Ezra has nice hands.
It's probably also just like
Basically.
if you do meet someone at a tournament and there's like a little bit of a spark or you have a date, or, it's probably easy to just a week or two from there, just like intentionally forget to respond to some texts and be like, sorry, I got busy on the tour. Like that's a legitimate thing that you can kind of say and they can be like, I believe that. And then just never kind of respond again.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I try to be, I try to be clear kind of going into like, if I do meet a girl at the gym or whatever, I try to be clear and kind of say like, I travel all the time. So like, I can't really get into a relationship right now, but
If I was the girl, I would just take that as a challenge. I would fuck you up.
that's the problem. I think, they might like that, which is bad. It's like, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the women's psyche.
I want to apologize because I've now realized I don't, this is probably true for every guest, but now you're probably going to go on a 10-year run until you come on this podcast again that you've never had. This is the best podcast you're ever going to be on for the next 10 years. I apologize.
It's all right. You got to hit those highs sometime.
Your Frisbee golf career will continue to excel, but this is okay. Here we go. Ezra has nice hands from Sleeky. Anita Dick and me. It's probably the I cook beans in my car. Are you kidding me? When I was living in my car, I was slaying. Has he considered OnlyFans? Have you ever considered OnlyFans account?
I have gotten a few comments, like if I post a shirtless picture or something, then people will be like, "Oh, is this like your false advertisement for OnlyFans, or whatever?"
Yeah, that
But I
could be
don't think
slippery
that's-
slope. Oh, would you date a meat eater?
Yeah. I've gone on dates with people who eat meat, for sure.
Jeffrey Birchfield, what size shoe does he wear? Big hands, big feet. Asking for Heidi.
11 and a half.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is a Bigfoot. So you Matt Burns, 10-year run, he ain't coming back if that's the case. He is. He's where I can tell.
10-year reunion, of course. You have to.
Well, no, he'll be on before that. Okay. So you're 2 years in the lab, you come out, you do it in 2019. You do some local tournaments. You're happy with what you see?
No, I was worse than I thought I was.
Oh,
actually,
shit.
still. So like, yeah.
In the basement, you're a bad dude in the basement. Outside the basement?
Yeah. Well, so like after 2 years, I played my first event. I just kind of signed up for it and went and played it. And my first round was actually really good. I shot, for people who know ratings, I guess I shot like 1,016. I think was my first rating ever. And I was like, oh, okay, sick. I can make that. Like, this is good. Second round was like quite a bit worse. And then the last round, I could not make a putt to save my life. I shot like 920. I lost by 2 strokes.
The first round is on a Friday, then a Saturday, then a Sunday. So okay, so it was 1 weekend. You got this feedback. Okay.
Yeah, it might have even been a 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday type of deal.
Okay.
But yeah, so then I was like, oh wow, well, like there's so much of my game that sucks. Like I can obviously throw farther than the competition at the local level, but everything else in my game is holding me back. So then I had to kind of shift my focus of where my practice was into all that side of the game to really build that. And then I'm kind of always still in the lab. I think that's just kind of a never-ending process.
And how do you become a pro? That Brian was saying that there's like 80 or 90 guys you guys were discussing who are on the pro. How do you make it from the B team, or what's that process?
Yeah. So right now, we're still at a point where if your rating is high enough at the local level and you're fast enough to sign up for these Pro Tour events, you can sign up.
Okay.
So usually what will happen is that, the tournament might have 110 spots and 80 of those are going to be Pro Tour card holding spots. And you've got, 20 or 30 spots left over for whoever else wants to sign in. And if your rating's high enough, you can sign up right away. And then if not enough 10, 20 plus people sign up, then it'll open up to like 10, 10 after a week or so. So if you get your rating high enough, you can actually play in the Pro Tour events, and that's how you can, play the whole season on the Pro Tour, get the tour card for the next season, hopefully, and then kind of just keep going from there.
Do you try? And so once you're on for how long? Like, do you ever get concerned? So you've been on the pro circuit in the click for 3 years now.
Yep.
Do you ever get concerned that you could fall out?
I haven't had that concern yet. There was like 80 spots, and I think my first season on tour I was 21st. in standings, and then like 11th and then 14th. So
okay. And how about your first year going on the tour? Were they welcoming to you? Were people do people haze you a little bit, test you?
I don't think so. No, I mean, I kept mostly to myself. You know, I didn't really know anybody on tour, so I just kind of stuck to myself and my Prius, my beans and stuff. And then yeah, I mean, people were always nice. I don't think I had to go through any like hazing rituals.
How about did you ever break any etiquette, like you set your discs or your bag in the wrong spot, in the spot that always Paul Macbeth set his bag, and so someone came over like, dude, that's Paul's spot?
No, I don't think so. No, pretty chill.
Oh, pretty okay. And in this so now you've been doing it 3 years, and how many tournaments will you play typically in a year? Like
about
legit
25.
tournaments. Wow. And is that 25? Is that all, every other week, consecutive weeks?
Yeah, it varies a little bit. Sometimes we'll go back to back, maybe have 3 events in a row at most. And then we'll have off weeks kind of sprinkled in. It's like a 9.5 month period. Well, we'll all play 20, 25 events.
24 this year though, because you didn't get into the Champions Cup.
That's true. Yeah. It still holds. Thanks for the memory.
Well, I was hesitant to bring it up. I know it's
no, you're
subject,
good. You're
but I didn't understand it. I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it works. Like, why weren't you able to play in that tournament?
Yeah, it was kind of just an unfortunate. It was kind of a few unfortunate things that happened. So that was
what
one
year is
where
this?
we didn't.
This is like a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't automatically get signed up when we signed up for the tour card, because that was a major, and yeah, it was kind of its own thing, I guess. We didn't get signed up automatically for that. So we had to actually go in and sign up for that event when the registration opened, which was like a week-long period. And there wasn't a great job done of letting us players know when that was, which was kind of odd. But most people signed up, so I do take responsibility, obviously, for not hitting that window. So I missed that window. The tournament fills up. Me and like 15 other tour card holders didn't sign up, and so we're obviously frustrated with that. We reached out to the TDs. People are a little bit frustrated.
Why would you reach out to the titties?
Always reach out to the TDs. What are you talking about?
All right.
No, the tournament director.
Oh, the TDs. Sorry,
TDs,
my bad.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
Hey, you hear what you want to hear. I can't blame you.
Yes.
But so they ended up having a qualifying event on the Monday before the tournament for 8 spots. So there's like 25 guys playing for 8 spots. I did not have my best day.
Did they create that tournament specifically because so many people had missed it, or was that tournament already in existence?
No. It was just like, yeah, that qualifying event was just because so many people missed signups. Well, I think what happened is the PDJ kind of realized that they also messed up and didn't do a good enough job at letting people know. So then, like, well, we got to do something to let some of these people in, just to kind of, help with the PR side of it. So yeah, just didn't have my best day. So I had opportunities to qualify for the event even after missing signups, which was nice for the PDJ to allow, and just didn't have my best day.
No, sometimes like.
Oh, you told me about that. I think you texted me.
Yeah.
You said, "Oh yeah."
He wasn't the only.
Behind your back.
He wasn't
Sorry,
the only
Ezra.
top player that wasn't
Right.
present in that tournament. And that the qualifying tournament he's talking about, if you go look at the leaderboard, like there's a lot of good and well recognized players playing in that.
Oh, for
So
sure.
even, but like it was like you finished second at Las Vegas Challenge. Like that wasn't good enough to like get you a spot in.
No, that was not one of the ways to qualify. That qualified me for the European Open and the USDGC, though. It was nice.
Well, hopefully they'll clean that up next year, because I mean, especially at the majors, it feels like it should be a very low barrier of entry for the tour players to get in.
Right. Yeah, I think they will. I think they got some negative feedback. I mean, like there was some of us top guys that didn't qualify. Kevin Jones didn't make it in the qualifier. Andrew Marweed. I mean, there was a handful of guys that people expect to see when they go out and spectate, and they didn't get to because of that.
That's almost all year you play if you're playing 25 tournaments.
Yeah, it's about 9-10 months.
What do you do during the week? Do you play frisbee every day? Do you throw the frisbee every day?
Almost every day, yeah. Yeah, I mean, so Like a
Do you ever
typical.
throw? Do you ever throw a
typical-
Discraft? Do you ever throw ultimate frisbee disc anymore? Ever?
No,
No.
no.
Would that be bad? Is that bad? That would you would have it would kind of recalibrate your arm and your brain. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, some of the people on tour will kind of play catch in the parking lot with a frisbee, so it's probably not super detrimental. But it is a little bit different throw, so I don't know. I would be down to like play an ultimate frisbee game. I think it'd be fun. I don't think it'd be too detrimental, but Brody does actually play with like a little like shrunken version of an ultimate disc, which is like kind of halfway between an ultimate disc and a disc golf disc. So he'll bust that out sometimes in woods for
Who makes that?
Discraft as well.
Oh,
It's a super old disc, but it has a different flight, just a little bit straighter because it's the way it's shaped and stuff.
Do you have to? Do you have to play with those discs, the frisbee disc golf discs, or could you play with just a regular disc?
I think an ultimate frisbee disc is PDGA approved, so it has to be as long as it's PDGA approved, it counts. The ultimate disc I think was approved a long time ago, before the discs changed, vastly. So I think it's kind of grandfathered in. So I'm not sure if like a Whammo would be PDGA approved, but
this is something I was going to ask you about a while ago when we were talking about drugs. What are the limitations on the number of discs and the kind of discs that you can use in a PDGA event?
Like another guy following you with like 3 bags?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's any type of amount that is limited. So I think if you wanted to have 5 bags on your back and carry, 100 discs, you probably could. The disc has requirements, the shape of the rim has to be a certain way, and it can't be too fast or too shallow, or the flight plate has to be, specific. So there's all those requirements that make up the disc, but as far as how many you can actually take, that's not part of the game. Is there too many discs you could bring on to where it becomes like a headache? Do you ever like, fuck, I shouldn't have brought this many. I'm overthinking everything now. I should have just stuck to. That might be. I mean, yeah, that definitely could be a thing. I definitely carried more discs last season. It is an interesting one because there are some players that carry quite a bit less discs and some that carry quite a bit more. And so those kind of benefits to both. If you carry more discs, you can kind of just stick to one angle and let the disc change the flight. Or if you carry less discs, you can just kind of trust one disc and know exactly how that flies, and then manipulate it with your throw. So kind of depending on how you like to attack the game, you can kind of curate your bag to that way.
Seems like it would become an obsessive compulsive issue. I mean, that video of you when you lift up when you're in the RV, you're in the Discraft RV, and you open the trunk. That's crazy. I mean, there's over 100 discs in there.
Yeah.
I have
looks like a disc store.
I have 100 discs in my trunk alone, and that's like, But
you too, Brian. You have 100 discs in your trunk.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, we get addicted. We get addicted quick. They just pile up.
But I've been giving them away recently. Like I was playing a local course the other day, and there was just some young kids playing, and they're like, "Hey, can we throw a disc?" And I let them throw it, and then they ended up being in the parking lot with me after the round, and so I just gave them each a putter and a driver that I'd like found over the years.
Nice.
Any crazy stories you have where like you're let me ask, is there weed wafting through the air the entire time?
No,
no? Come on. Have you ever played 9 holes and not smelt weed?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, on the pro tour, it's not that it's not like super common. Maybe if you go to the parking lot after the round, some people will be partaking, so you'll get some of those wafts. Yeah, I definitely would smell it more on the local level.
Is it frowned upon, or is it okay? Like,
I don't think it's super frowned upon. As long as it's not in the actual event, it's not really a problem.
Yeah, you can't go anywhere in California. Hey, did you see any zombies when you were in Portland? Was Portland scary? Portland's going downhill.
Portland was great. I don't know. I talked to my brother before, and he was like, "Yeah, you have to tell me how Portland is. Like, it's supposed to be really bad," and it was fine. I did not see any zombies.
Dude,
survived the apocalypse.
Absent of whatever is actually happening in Portland, that course looks amazing.
Dude, it is. Glendale is one. I liked both courses, and then obviously just the fact that it's on such of like a well-maintained golf course, and you have these massive trees, and the grass is cut, and you have Mount Hood in the background. It's one of the most aesthetically pleasing courses for sure.
I would say you liked the East course 5 times better because you had 5 times fewer bogeys on it.
That definitely helped. I definitely scored better on the East course, so I like to bet all this weekend.
I knew we were doing this podcast with you. I just got back from Germany for a CrossFit competition, so I was like trying to keep up with the Portland Open over in like the nights and stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it was Proctor or Corey, but someone made a putt on 18 that prevented you being on Joma's coverage for the last round or lead card for the last round. Like it was super close. It was super close. I think you were on the border. I think you missed by one spot, and I was like really hoping when I saw you making the charge, I was like, man, I hope he gets on lead coverage. That'd be so cool if that happened right before we played. I mean, it's really difficult to get on the lead card in any tournament these days.
Right. Yeah. I wasn't paying a ton of attention, but that definitely could have been the case. I know Alden Harris was a spot above me on chase card, so he would have been the first to bump up. But maybe there was 2 guys that needed to miss a putt or something.
No, I think the top 3 were pulling away. I think it was whatever Proctor did on the last hole.
Gotcha.
For months leading into the Portland tournament, Jomez would have these commercials, or someone would put the commercials on Jomez and be like, "We love Portland." It would whisper that, and I would always whisper back to the TV, "No, you don't. No one does." So shut up. But you were in a good spot.
Ezra,
wait, what they whisper?
You love Portland. We love Portland. You know what I mean? Like it would be a commercial. It'd be like, for some reason, they were really hyping that tournament for months.
Yeah, that was the first Elite Plus event. So we've got majors, we've got elite events, we've got silver events, a notch below, and this is the first year having a kind of a tournament between elite and major.
So just for the perspective, a normal PDGA tournament, the winner gets 100 points. Yep. And the Silver Series is half the points. So you get 50. And a major, is it 200 if you win?
A major is 150. So a major is the same actually as the Elite Plus. But I think the Pro Tour kind of wanted to really boost these Elite Plus events and
how many
make
do you know
them
how many
special.
there will be this year?
Just 2.
Portland and which one? Other one?
Ledgestone in Illinois.
I live in Illinois. Maybe I should come for that tournament.
There you go.
Thayson Hopper, Sevan seems lost in this conversation. I feel like he's just waiting to make a joke. Listen, Thayson, that's because you just came back from Rich Froning's podcast and there's a dollop of semen clogging your ears and eyes.
Ezra, what do you do you ever use caddies in your tournaments?
Not this season. I actually, let's see, my parents were at the tournament in Waco, and I had a really bad first round. So then I was like, if you want a caddy, Dad, you can come caddy for me for the last 2 rounds. And I actually played better for those 2 rounds. So maybe I should go back to a caddy. Last season, I had my brother Judah caddy all throughout the year. And then this year I've just been going solo for most of it.
I mean, even in tournaments I play in, if I have someone available to caddy, I'll usually let them do it. It's not like I don't feel stressed by carrying the bag around. And obviously, we spend some time in the gym, so physically it shouldn't be an issue. But but for me, it's sometimes just to have a sounding board, just to be like, should I run this, or is it whatever.
I can't imagine you liking a caddy, Brian.
Well, Scott Polensky's you just got to find the right person. I think if you find the right person, it can be really helpful. But when I observe and watch disc golf, like I'll just use Paul McBeth as an example. It seems like he hardly ever uses a caddy, but then at the biggest tournaments, he has one. So I'm always curious how players decide to make that decision.
Yeah, like I know he has the same guy at European Open caddy for him that he's had for like the last decade. So it's the caddy thing is very specific on the person, I think, and that's maybe partly why I haven't been using it this season, is just because I don't necessarily want to just have somebody that I don't know on the bag, just because I'm not sure how the dynamic will work. I don't know how they're going to be and act and stuff. So I don't really want the added stress from that side of it. I mean, I think there are some benefits. I think obviously, not having to carry the bag is probably a benefit on the endurance side of it and the physicality side. I don't know. I think too, for me, like just being alone with my thoughts is sometimes better than having somebody to talk to. Like I'm not a player that needs to talk throughout the whole round. I'm kind of fine just keeping to myself.
Yeah, I think I feel the same. But there's just a few moments. So it's having someone that's like, hey, let me be. If I need something, I'll let you know. And then in those 1 or 2 moments where it comes up, that I can just ask that question and get like an affirmation from someone that I know has my best interest in mind.
Yeah.
You should, when you were in Portland, Ezra, and I'm judging you for this, you should have hired a stripper to be your caddy in order to help the economy and give them opportunities outside of her traditional field of
His
work.
or her.
Oh, sorry, either one. Either one. It was very, very inclusive.
That would have been, I mean, that would have been newsworthy for sure. That would have been buzzy in disc golf.
I'm sorry. I watched The Last Dance with Magic Mike on the plane. So, male strippers exist too.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you keeping the show inclusive. Hey, Ezra, what's the protocol for like doing podcasts and media and like with the dudes on the tour? Like do they do them? Do you do them midweek? Do some guys do no media? Like, is it hard getting the guys to come on the show? Like, do podcasts? Like, what's the deal? Like, why are you doing a podcast? Why did you do this? Just bored?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's not super uncommon for people to do podcasts. Brody Smith and Paul Ulibarri both play almost every event, and then they've also got one of the most popular podcasts in disc golf that they actually produce.
They started doing that. It's called the Tour Life, and they started doing it this year, right?
Tour Life podcast. Yep. And so they get guests on every single week that play pretty much. So it's not, I don't know, it's not super uncommon for people to go do podcasts or do media. I think disc golf's also at a point where it's beneficial kind of for everybody to partake in a lot of that stuff.
All right. Well, you were amongst the guys that we were most hoping to get because of some of your lifestyle things that just are, aligned with what we often do. But we have reached out to a lot of people and been turned down. So
well, not turned down, just that maybe they just don't check their DMs. They're not like, hey, eat a dick. They're just, but
yeah. I mean, that's part of it too, is like a lot of times the DM will just go into the requests, and so people won't see stuff. But thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Dude, you're the man. I was an instant fan when I saw you. You have lots of things to judge you about, and I love judging people. And you're cool as shit, dude. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Anytime, if there's anything we can do for you, you want to promote anything, but either way, we'll be watching from afar, and then we'll be bugging you to have you on again. You're an awesome guest.
We made
Mr. Ezra.
I bothered Sevan enough about it that he made a commitment to do a review show for each of the PDGA events and the majors this year. So we'll be following. We'll be trying to promote you guys in our space. And I would like to get out to a tournament eventually. I've still yet to go to a Disc Golf Pro Tour event. But if I go out, maybe I'll let you know and we could grab a waffle or something.
Yeah, there you go. How often do you guys get out and play?
Me, none.
I probably play 3-4 times a week.
Oh, wow. Nice. Heck yeah.
You know what's crazy? My neighbor, I live out in the country, and my neighbor has a 5 acres right across the street from my house. I could play from my front door, and he has two baskets out there, right? And so we went out there and we were playing. I hadn't played in years, and we went out there and started playing every day for like 2 weeks, and then he put a lock on his gate.
Oh,
that was the end of my frisbee golf career.
Well,
he also lives like probably a few miles from De La, so he could go play.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a special place for sure. Nice.
All right, brother. Thank you. I'd like to stay in touch. Thanks for sharing your phone number. I'll try to use it sparingly, wisely.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, brother. Have a good one. Ezra Aderhold.
That was cool. For me, that was very cool.
Dude, went 1,000 times better than I ever imagined.
That's because you had me here.
Oh, well, thank you. God.
Well, I think it was a good balance between who he is and how he got to be in this position, and then able to, obviously I could talk to him a little bit about the disc golf stuff that's current and relevant for him. So I think
he plays disc golf.
Mm-hmm. I know all you see over there is a body and a story. So
a body and a homeless guy. Sevan is scared to leave his house per Hiller. Scared's not the right word, but you're close. But it's not scared. Geez Louise, good job, Sevan. That was good. Robbie Myers, thanks, Ezra. Yeah, that dude's cool.
He was cool. There were,
he's very cool.
He rolled with it. With some of your shenanigans, he embraced that.
Yeah. Very cool guy. That was cool. All right, Zach Jones. All Eaton Beaver, watch it, Brian. Confident, not cocky.
I wonder. I hope that he'll mention to some of the guys, and maybe we can get another player on here sometime.
I'll start bugging more guys. Sleeky, I enjoyed that. Oh, good. Sleeky said that made the observation that Aderhold had nice hands.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What are you doing the rest of the day?
A lot of things I'm behind on from traveling for 3 straight weeks.
Really, you're behind because your shit's. It seems like you're publishing regularly on the BeFriendlyFitness.com and your YouTube page is up and going.
Patrick does most of the stuff on the back end.
Oh, okay.
And when I say I'm behind, I'm not behind on any of the CrossFit stuff. It's just like life stuff that I. And then it's just some other projects that, things I've been filtering in about that I would usually keep up to date with on a more regular basis that I just kind of put on hold for this month. I was home for, I think, a total of 50 hours over those 3 weeks. So
holy shit.
Yep. Just enough time to do laundry and sleep and pack again.
Are you gonna so you basically, but your primary thing is to get back to publishing. You want to be publishing at a regular cadence.
Yes. Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot to figure out, quite frankly.
All right. Do we have any more shows scheduled, you and I?
Portland Open tomorrow night.
Oh, we do. Is that tomorrow night?
That's what I have.
Let me see here. What's going on?
Wednesday the 7th. I have it at 8:30 p.m. Central Time.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Holy cow. Okay.
We're about halfway through the season, so we got to keep doing it, I think. We made a commitment.
On behalf of the Sevan Podcast and Be Friendly Fitness, we would like to apologize for our 3-week lull in PDGA coverage.
No, we didn't miss anything, actually.
Oh, okay.
The timing worked out really well, where there were 2 Silver Series events during that period, and then Portland Open was the last week. So we actually haven't missed on anything that we said we would. There's another Silver Series event this weekend, and then they have a tournament the weekend after that.
Can we talk about Brian's voice change on his Be Friendly IG post?
What does that mean?
I don't know. Well, I think your response was, I had Michelle Bassnett on here.
Yeah, 3 hours, 3.5 hours or something.
No, 2 hours. Oh, that is true. That's
there may
because
have been another part of it. She might not have been on for all 3 hours,
yeah,
but
she was on for 2. Where is it, Jethro? Is it on his Be Friendly or is it on Brian Friend, his voice change?
What is he talking about? My voice change.
Can we talk about Brian's voice change on the Be Friendly IG post? I don't see any posts where you're talking.
There's like a cover image on most of them. So you don't see necessarily me. I don't know if I like that or not.
The cover image?
Yeah, because then you don't know.
Well, I would see it had a little play button, even if it had a cover image, right?
So click on that. Let's see what it is.
Oh, okay.
And then it immediately goes to me.
Semifinals for the 2023 season. Individuals had the stage all to themselves today. The women started things off and closed out their competition first. Massive congratulations to Gabriella
at most, I don't know if
Nagawa.
I would say that there's a voice change. Maybe it's loud and you're talking loud.
So the interesting thing about these is I did it with a different guy every week because we had different people on the ground. So like I did this with Patty Orr, and it was, we had to find a spot. Yeah, there were some things going on. I didn't know like how much of my body would be visible or not. It was different every week. The mics.
Day 2 for the teams in Berlin. Day 1 for the individuals. We'll start with
your voice is deeper here. I wouldn't have noticed that though.
the teams, and it was no shortcuts making a big move today. 3rd place on both of the tests.
Did someone tell you? Do you hear your voice different?
No, I was just because like here I've done it so many times and I know what it sounds like. And there he was kind of far away from me, and then I'm not used to doing it with a mic on my shirt like that. So maybe I was just projecting more.
What's going on with your? Are you wearing tights underneath a pair of Noble shorts? That's how I dress my kids.
No, I think I just have things in my pocket on the left side that are like making them project. That's
Oh.
just a pair of Noble pants. I wore them like pretty much every single day for 3 weeks, or at least on the days of competition, because it's cold inside the venues. And actually, overall, considering the relative warmth of the cities that we were in, Orlando, Los Angeles, and Berlin in the summer, you would expect, it wasn't that warm at any of those places. I think the entire time I was in California, there was like 3 hours of sun.
Damn.
Yeah, we walked outside. I walked outside with Tommy on like Saturday afternoon in between events, and there was sun out. And I was like, "Oh, you guys actually do have sun in California?" And he kind of laughed. He's like, "Yeah, man, it's been a pretty shitty week."
Cocaine changes my voice, sports voice, powerful voice. He also put in a giant hands filter. Oh, those aren't your real hands?
I think whatever that lens is that he's using, that if you just like extend forward, it really dramatizes it.
Zach Jones, I love the branding. Oh, are we concerned about Justin Medeiros in the at the CrossFit Games this year?
No, I think Tommy actually handled that really well on the recap we did for Talking Elite Fitness. He basically said,
it was a nothing burger.
No, he didn't say that. He said, this is seven events. It's about half as many as we're used to seeing. And he, if you just look at his Tommy pulled a stat that said he's never finished lower than 10th on any workouts on a weekend at the CrossFit Games. So he's usually getting better as the weekend goes on. And even though he's relatively close to the top throughout, he kind of makes his move and accelerates into the top position later in the weekend. And he actually did that in the semifinals too. He had his best day on his last day. And that was actually true of quite a few veteran athletes, where they had their best day on their last day at semifinals. And I think that to Tommy's point, if that competition, even against those guys, had continued over the next another 7 tests, that he might have closed the gap. But I mean, we cannot ignore how good Vellner and Vellner in particular, but also Fikowski looked during that competition.
Are you going to pick Vellner to win the games?
I haven't actually thought too much about the games.
Oh, that's already a problem right there, because it used to be Justin until someone beats him, and now
he didn't even let me finish.
Okay, all right.
But I still think that I still think Justin's the favorite at the games. That
Okay.
Now that he has been beat, I'm off the hook on that one. Right?
I thought when you said until he's beat, you were referencing beat at the games.
And no, at any competition. So, for example, if he'd lost at Rogue last year, I would have considered that being beaten. Semifinals is not the games. So, and I do think Tommy's point is very valid, which is why it's the first thing that I brought up. And I still think that the consistency he's displayed across all events and all competitions over the last 2 years is extremely impressive. But I will, and the reason why I haven't given too much thought necessarily to the games yet is I just wanted to let all of the semifinals play out. They're just to see. There's, especially being there live, I feel like there are some things that I learn, whether it's in conversation with coaches or athletes, or and obviously live, I can see all 10 lanes the entire time. And I know that on the broadcast, you can't see that. So there's different things that I can pick up on for certain athletes and certain tests that are critical. I'm not looking to learn a ton about Pat Vellner. I know a lot about Pat Vellner, but there's very specific things that if he were going to win the CrossFit Games, that I would be on the lookout for in a semifinal, that I can kind of hone in on with regard to him specifically, or Brent or Justin or Sam Quant or any of these guys that I think are towards the top where the margins are really small.
Someone sent me a text, and it says Sarah Sigmund's daughter is Dunzo.
Oh, well, I mean, people are obviously talking about that. I believe that Andrew made a video about that. I haven't had a chance to watch it at all, but
Dunzo. You think she's Dunzo?
I don't know what that means. I mean, Dunzo meaning she's never going to have a chance to win the CrossFit Games again. Dunzo,
no,
she's never going to have a chance to make the CrossFit Games again. Or Dunzo, she's never going to compete in the sport in any capacity again.
That she's never going to make the CrossFit Games again.
I mean, she's missed it by basically one movement this year and one spot last year. Like, I think it's a little bit naive to say she never has a chance to make the games again. And I'm, in her case in particular, I think there are some things going on that most people are not aware of. And I don't want to make any excuses for her, but I don't think it's impossible that she makes the games again.
And she switched to Kotler.
Yeah, that was a few months ago.
Yeah, but that's interesting also, right? She was at a powerhouse training camp, training think tank.
I mean, I guess I don't know how to quantify necessarily what's going on at the training camps. I think that it doesn't take a lot of observation necessarily to realize that Sarah's made a lot of coaching changes over the years,
and she likes it, and she thinks it's beneficial for her. She likes change, right? She likes travel, and she likes change, and she likes competition.
True on all counts.
Yeah, I didn't mean it in any derogatory sense.
No, and I think that people often apply a perspective to something like that as a generality, and it's like it may not work for everyone, but it doesn't mean that it can't work for someone.
Thayson Hopper,
he's back.
This is just a stepping stone. She will come back stronger than ever. Many athletes fall off and miss the games and go back to train harder. I believe in her. Oh,
well,
what about what? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
What about Katrin David's daughter?
Okay, well,
I'm crazy impressed.
I mean, let's just see. So to Thayson's point, I mean, Sarah's not going to be at the games this year. She wasn't at the games last year. She wasn't at the games the year before that. The year before that was an online game. She finished 21st, so we didn't get to see her live. The year before that was 2019. She finished 20th or 19th, so she was cut after 5 or 6 events. And then 2018, she withdrew. We haven't actually seen Sarah complete a CrossFit Games since 2017.
Wow.
That's a really long time.
I used to work for CrossFit back then.
If you want to parallel it with Katrin David's daughter, that's fine. And actually great to do. She missed the games just like Sarah did by 1 spot last year. But the year before that was 10th. The year before that was 2nd, 4th, 3rd, and then we get to 2017. So in that same time period, Katrin's had 2 podiums, 4 top 10s, and missed the games once. Sarah's had she hasn't even finished the games a single time. So it's a little bit different.
What about Brooke? Are you impressed with Katrin did before I switch move? I'm pretty impressed.
I was impressed. I did think there was a good chance for her to make the games. I think I picked her in the last spot in because I just wasn't sure, but she was impressive to me. Even if you told me no, she's going to make it, I wouldn't have thought she would finish second and have a chance to win it. And I do think that my like early thoughts about her at the games is that she has a chance to make the top 10 again, based on what I saw and just how many women are missing from the field this year, and the fact that there's certain athletes that are better at the games than they are otherwise, and we would kind of reference that with Justin. But in the case of Katrin too, I think that game suits her pretty well, and she's in a good place in her life, and I think that's probably the thing that I've learned the most over the last 2 years dealing with athletes in a more personal level is being settled in your life actually is a huge element of doing well in this sport.
Like Ezra, settled in the Prius. Jan Clark, Sevan has been at the games more recently than Sarah. That's a tough stat.
Well, it's not a true stat, but well, I guess, I don't know. When was the last time you were at the games? 2019?
2018? 2019?
You weren't there in the international year with every.
Oh, yeah, I was. Yeah.
So she was there too. And in 2020, when it was at the ranch, were you there?
No.
And she didn't make it to the game. She did the online version. So
I think I was fired by that point.
I think so too.
What am I doing here? It's time to move on. Okay. That was my inner voice. I'm getting out a little bit. So much to talk about. We should just do a show just a show with no title where we just talk about some shit.
Mm-hmm. When do you want to do that?
I don't know. I'll have Sousa contact you.
There's certain topics I'm not that interested in talking about, as you know, but
you'll talk about anything CrossFit related.
That's likely true, but depending on the topic, I may disappoint you.
You don't disappoint. Even when you disappoint me, I'm excited. I get excited that I touched on something that disappointed you. I'm easily made.
Oh, you're not disappointing me. It's just that I'm very much interested in trying to make this sport great. And, do that. You know, there's some things that I just probably wouldn't talk about publicly.
Thank you, everyone. And bye-bye.